Let's cultivate our motivation. Recently I was reading an article about where someone was talking about a harm that was done to her by somebody else that was indeed horrific, and how angry she was about it, and how much of a grudge she held, so that even when the other person apologized, she didn't accept the apology. She didn't want to give the person who harmed her any opportunity to feel that he could make up for what he had done. She really wanted him to suffer from his own guilt. And as I was reading this, it was very painful to read that, because you can see so clearly that when we can't let go of our anger and we wish somebody else harm, how much our mind is in pain, how much we are trapped by our own anger. So it's important, if we ever have thoughts like that of not forgiving, of wishing somebody else harm because they harmed us, to really ask ourselves, how is that thought benefiting me? How is that thought reducing my own suffering from what happened in the past? And when we look closely, we see that our revenge, our grudge, doesn't help us or anybody else at all. Not one single bit. Not for even a split second. And in fact, that attitude of refusing to accept someone's apology just makes us more and more unhappy, and causes the other person pain as well. And their pain doesn't benefit us. And our pain doesn't benefit us either. So if we want to become bodhisattvas, if we say that we want to attain full awakening, then it's very important that we completely dismantle and drop any grudge holding, any thought of revenge. And instead see that both we and the other person are in the same boat, being under the control of afflictions and karma, wanting happiness, not suffering, but stuck in the cyclic existence. And so rather than hate a compatriot in samsara, to extend compassion to them and to ourselves, and to really aim for the highest awakening so that we can do something about that situation. So with that kind of attitude, let's aim for full awakening and share the Dharma this evening. So this article was really quite touching. And like I said, it was painful to see that person's hatred. Although many people would say it's understandable. But understandable doesn't mean happy. And it reminded me of one of my teachers who, when other people have harmed somebody, he sometimes replies, "You should go and apologize to that person." Meaning the person who was harmed should go and apologize to the person who harmed them. Which is the opposite of how we usually think, isn't it? You know, me apologize to that guy? Look what they did to me. Da, 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 da. You know, they deserve this anger and hatred. So when I read that article, you know, it became very, very clear why he says that, even though it seems so counterintuitive. Because if you understand the Dharma, you see it's not counterintuitive. It's like she was experiencing so much pain. If she apologized to the person who harmed her for carrying so much anger, she was carrying all this anger against them. And if she apologized for her anger and released her anger, she would be completely relaxed and happy. Yeah? But if she held the anger against somebody, which in this case, in the article she did, it was burning her up. Yeah? So, as strange, you know, as it sounds, when I first heard my teacher say that, somebody recounted me a story to me where he said that to them. My first added thought was, what? You know, like the person who told me the story, they were like, huh? But, you know, when you really think about it, and especially this article I read, it's like, yeah, it's true. It's true. Because when we apologize, basically what we're doing is, yeah, we're expressing regret about our own anger. When we forgive somebody, we're dropping the anger. They kind of come to the same point, you know, in the sense that we're realizing that our anger only harms us. Yeah. So think about it a little bit.
Some of the things that the story brings to my mind in terms of my own experience is that when we are harmed, at least for me, there was a long time when I labeled myself a victim. Mm-hmm. But when we do something like what you were describing, we actually take the control of the situation and stop being the victim and say, you know, I take ownership of what happened to me. It was not something that was good to be done, but I can take control of my own feelings and how I'm going to feel about it and decide that I'm not going to be a victim anymore.
Yeah. So you're saying, I can determine my own future. I don't have to be trapped by what happened. Yeah. Okay. Back to our debate book. The people who are coming to this class the first time, if you don't understand anything but pot, you're doing well. Because we've been in the middle of this for a long time. It's and you're coming in the middle. We're learning a lot of technical vocabulary and so on. So we talk about pots a lot, gold pots and copper pots and cars and because we're trying to. This debate book is what it does is it teaches you how to think correctly. Yeah. And so the content and the structure, that's what we're learning of how things fit together and how to think correctly. So, if we're talking about pots and cars and tables and chairs, don't despair. It actually does relate to the Dharma, in the sense that we're learning a certain skill, okay, that then later gets applied to other topics, that where we really need to use reasoning to figure out how things exist. So a question came up a couple of weeks ago about, are the two truths one nature? Okay, so two people sent me quotes from Guy's book. Okay, and the answer is yes, the two truths are one nature. But that doesn't mean that the emptiness of one object is one nature with the emptiness of any other object except the object it's the emptiness of. Let me read what Guy wrote here. The two truths are not two names for precisely the same thing. Okay? They cannot be the very same thing conceptualized in two different ways. Okay? So they're different phenomena, conventional. Veiled truths and ultimate truths are different phenomena. Okay? They're different in name, they're different in meaning. Okay? That doesn't mean that they're totally unrelated. Okay? If they were, he said they cannot be the very same thing conceptualized in two different ways. If they were, one would have to say that just as a table is both a product and an impermanent thing, table is also a veiled truth and an ultimate truth. Is table a veiled truth and an ultimate truth? No. Which one is it? Veiled truth. If table were an ultimate truth, then anyone could effortlessly escape cyclic existence through the ordinary direct perception of a table. Because if you saw this, and the two truths were exactly the same, so that this was a veiled truth and an ultimate truth, then when you look at the table, you would see its ultimate nature. You would be able to, eliminate the afflictions from your mind stream very quickly and attain Buddhahood. But we've been looking at tables for a long time, and that hasn't happened. Okay, if the two truths are not equivalents, they aren't, the same thing, then why does Nagarjuna compare their relationship to the relationship between product and impermanent thing? Because product and impermanent thing are equivalents. Okay. So Nagarjuna writes, it being definite that without one, the other does not occur, like product and impermanent thing. Okay, but product and impermanent thing are equivalents, and the table and the emptiness of the table are not equivalents. Yeah. In fact, is there, how many points in common between a table and the emptiness of the table?
They're mutually exclusive.
They're mutually exclusive, aren't they? Yeah. So we usually think mutually exclusive. Boy, they don't have any relationship. That's not it. Yeah, because the table and the emptiness of the table depend on each other. Okay, one can't exist without the other. Tsongkhapa comments, Nagarjuna indicates that two truths have the definite relationship of indispensability, and that since, moreover, this is a relationship of one nature, which we'll talk about, okay, in a minute, the two truths are the same entity, like product and impermanent thing. Yeah, they're the same entity, but they're not equivalent. Sounds funny, doesn't it? You know, we would usually think, oh, same entity, then, you know, they're really closely related. But when you say that they're actually mutually exclusive, then we think they're so far away that they're unbridgeable. But it's neither of those things. Okay? So just how closely are the two truths related? As we have seen, Tsongkhapa says that Nagarjuna gave the relationship between product and impermanent thing as an example of the relationship between the two truths in order to show that the two truths are related within one nature. However, there are many non-equivalents that are related within one nature. For example, product and table. Okay, table is one nature with product, but table and product are not equivalents. Okay, you have to say it, table is one nature with product. You can't say product is one nature with table. Okay, so in the when you're phrasing these things, you always put the smaller thing first. That is one nature with the bigger one. Okay. So, or table and the impermanence of the table. Yeah, they're one nature, but they're not equivalent. Perhaps Nagarjuna chose a pair of equivalents in order to emphasize that the two truths have an especially close relationship that is somehow like equivalence. But it's not. That is, in Gelu, the two truths are not actually equivalents, but it is recognized that for certain advanced meditators, they seem to work as though they were equivalents. They are not only compatible, but each points toward and reinforces the other. And that's the point, you know. They're one nature. They're not equivalents. They're actually the table and the nature and the emptiness of the table are mutually exclusive. They're contradictory. Nothing is both of them. Okay. But one points towards the other. Okay, and one can't exist without the other. Okay, so this kind of stretches our mind in some way. So then, in the debate books, they give a little bit more explanation about one and different. And I thought I'd just talk a little bit about that, not go into all the details, but I think it's very helpful because this topic of one and different is really important when it comes to understanding emptiness and the relationship of the two truths and why dependent arising is called the king of, or the monarch, the queen of reasonings, and why the two are said to be so compatible. Okay, so when they talk about sameness, there's three kinds. So the first one, I'll just list them and then go back. One is the same isolate type. The second is the same entity. And the third is the same type. Okay, actually I said the first one wrong. The first one is the same self-isolate. Okay, so three kinds of sameness. The same self-isolate, the same entity, and the same type. Okay, so the same self-isolate, are the definition, very helpful definition, phenomena which are not diverse self-isolates. Yeah, completely clear, isn't it? Okay, so what it means is we say pot is one with pot. Okay, so when we're talking about one with pot, we're talking about the thing that is the same as pot in name and meaning. Okay, so that's relating to the self-isolate. Pot is one with pot. Okay, so, are the aggregates one with the person, one with the I? No, why not?
They're diverse.
Thank you. Because what? Different name? Only different name? Different meaning, too. Yeah, the person and the aggregates, different name, different meaning. They're not the same isolate. Okay. Now, the second kind of sameness is the same entity. So remember, entity, nature, they never give you a definition of this word, okay? And the definition of same entity is phenomena which are not diverse entities. Very helpful. Okay. So phenomena that are the same entity, the same nature, and the same essence are mutually inclusive. So just means all those three terms mean the same thing. Still doesn't tell you what it means. So pot is one nature, entity, and essence with product. But they are not mutually inclusive. Okay, pot is one nature with product, it's one entity with product, it's one essence with product. But pot and product are not mutually inclusive. Okay, so what's the relationship between pot and product? Three. Okay, so what's both? Pot. What's product but not pot? Table. What's pot but not product? Nothing. What's neither product nor pot? Emptiness, uncompounded space. Okay. So it's 3P. Yeah. So I'm not going to read what it says here because it's a little bit difficult to understand. So, yeah. So nature means that they share something. They share the same nature. Okay? So pot there's two ways things can share the same nature, okay? Well, probably more. Because product and impermanent are one nature, okay? They're also mutually inclusive, right? Okay. Product and the emptiness of emptiness of product and the emptiness of product, or pot and the emptiness of pot, are one nature, but they're mutually exclusive. And then you can say pot is one nature with product, and they're 3P. Okay, so things can be one nature, but have all sorts of other relationships too. Yeah. The idea of saying that things are one nature is that if one exists, the other one has to exist. Yeah. So if pot exists, product exists. But if product exists, pot doesn't necessarily have to exist. Yeah. If pot exists, the emptiness of pot exists. The emptiness of pot exists. Okay? So you have to kind of think about that things can be one nature, they can be mutually exclusive also, they can be mutually inclusive also, or they can be 3P. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when we're talking about the self and the aggregates, okay, they're one nature. Yeah, but they aren't the same thing. They aren't the same self-isolate. Actually, the self, the aggregates and the self, how many P are there between them? How many? What are they? Yeah, the self and the body. How many? Well, I'm just saying the body is an example of the aggregates. Because, for example, in the emptiness meditation, we look in the body to see, how does the self exist? Is it the body? Okay. So what's the relationship between the body and the self?
Mutually exclusive.
They're mutually exclusive. Are they one nature? The body is one nature with the self. Okay. Well, yeah, did you say that? Yeah, they're one nature. Okay. So the body and the self are different, but they're also one nature. Okay. So you have to, when you're, doing the investigation on emptiness, you have to be clear about the difference between one and one nature. Yeah. The body isn't the self isn't the body. They're not one. Why not? They're not the same in name or meaning, but they're one nature, okay? Or another way of saying it is that the self depends on the body, okay? So the body is like the support, and the self is the supported. Because on the basis of the body, or on the basis of any of the aggregates, then we designate person.
An example of two things which are one nature, which is kind of easy, would be an object and its parts. So, for example, rosary or mala, and the parts, the beads and the string.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they can't be separated.
Yeah.
You can't have the parts over here and the rosary over here.
Yeah.
So they're completely inseparable. They rise together, they abide together, they cease together.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yet they're different.
Yep.
They're not exactly the same, the parts and the rosary. So they can conceptually be separated. Conceptually, you can separate them,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of direct perception, you can't see them differently. This is something Geshe Gyatso explained when he was teaching.
Well,
They don't appear separately to direct perception.
mm,
That's another
Well-
criteria for two things being one nature.
is that they don't appear separately to direct
That's what
perception.
he said. Yeah,
Yeah.
but conceptually they can be. You can think, okay, the mala is one thing, the parts are another.
The other
but-
thing. Yeah. But you have to kind of know the name mala to know when you see the beads and the string that it's a mala. Yeah. And you can zero in on one of the parts without seeing the whole mala. Too, can't you? Like you can zero in
Yeah, that's
On
not
what-
one part, but all the parts.
all the parts. Yeah.
That's why they say self and the aggregates,
Yeah.
meaning all the aggregates and the self. Those are one nature.
Yeah.
If you just separate a hand,
Uh-huh.
one part, that's not one.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. The hand wouldn't, but the collection, what we're talking about is the collection. Yeah. So the basis of designation and the designated object are one nature. Yeah. But then it's weird because you don't have to see all of the basis of designation in order to recognize the designated object. You could see somebody's body or hear their voice, but know the person is there.
Small question on terminology. Posit, impute, and designate are all the same?
Impute and designate, yes, they're the same.
Posit?
Yeah.
Also the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
Posit can have slightly different meanings depending on the context. Very often it means designate. Yeah. Uh-huh. Pass the mic behind you.
So, if things are of one nature, if one exists, the other exists.
Yeah.
So, how could you say that, like the collection of aggregates is one nature with the self, but the self is not one nature with the collection of aggregates? Wouldn't it go both ways?
Yeah, actually I made a mistake there. Yeah. Wouldn't you say? Yeah. Yeah, the basic...
That only works one way.
Yeah, pot and product only goes one way because you can have products that aren't pot. But the collection of the aggregates and the self, it would go both ways because you would have to have both of them, right?
Yeah, even that example, pot and product, I mean, if they're one nature, the definition is these things can't exist without each other.
Yeah, but that's why you say pot is one nature with product. You don't say product is one nature with pot. Okay, so saying pot is one nature with product means that if you have pot can exist without product existing. If you say product is one nature with pot, then you're saying product can exist without pot existing.
It's like in my mind, the two are interchangeable, like the parts of the sentence. X.
Yeah.
is
In
interchangeable.
English, it's in English we don't differentiate which way you say it. In Tibetan, they do. Yeah, so we kind of have to say it that way and think that way. Otherwise, we get confused. Yeah. It's true. Yeah, it's a different way. In English, we don't differentiate. Well, we do. We could say Venerable Kunga is a nun, but we wouldn't say a nun is Venerable Kunga. We would say an example of a nun is Venerable Kunga. Yeah. So maybe like that. Mm-hmm.
So it would be that way with the mala and its parts too. You could have mala parts without having a mala, but you can't have a mala without having mala parts, because you could cut the string and the beads could be all over the place.
Yeah.
Or it could break.
Yeah.
More likely.
This, that's why you have to say the collection of mala parts. Because you have to have the parts arranged in a certain formation. It has to be the collection in a certain formation. But what the example you gave is very indicative of what it means to designate something, because you can have car parts without having a car. You can go to a store where there's car parts and there's no car. Okay? Yeah? So just because you have the parts, if they're not arranged in a particular order, or you just have some of the parts, you don't have the designated object. Yeah. So it has to be the collection of the aggregates.
Yeah, with the case of
Thank you.
with the case of a car, then a car it would be one nature with the collection of its parts. But there's lots of other parts that have nothing to do with that car.
Right.
That store
Yeah.
full of them.
It has to be like the same with the person. The person is one nature with the aggregates upon which, dependent on which the person is labeled. Yeah, I'm not one nature with your aggregates. Okay? Just like the emptiness of the pot is not one nature with the statue. Okay? Okay. So, yeah, the same self-isolate, the same entity, then the same type. Okay, so the definition of same type, again, extremely helpful. Phenomena that are not diverse types. Okay, so there's different kinds of types. Yeah, there's, okay. So there's the same isolate type, which is defined as phenomena naturally able to produce an awareness in a person thinking this and that are alike, upon merely being seen by whoever directs the mind towards them. So if you have two cups, okay, so the two cups are the same type, in particular the same isolate type, but they are not the same. And they are not the same isolate. But they are the same isolate type. Okay? So, at the beginning when you got confused when we were talking about two cups, are they the same? In English we say, yes, they're the same. And then in debate language we say, no, they're not the same. They're two different cups. But they can be the same type. So something can be the same type without being the same, and without being the same entity. Okay? Are two cups the same entity? No. Okay. Are they the same? No. They're the same type. Okay. So this is getting us to think about things in a way probably that we haven't thought about things before.
Would you read that definition slowly?
Okay. Phenomena naturally able to produce an awareness in a person thinking this and that are alike, upon merely being seen by whoever directs the mind towards them. Okay? So, Joe Blow directs his mind towards two objects, and they appear in his mind quite naturally, the thought, they're alike. Okay, so that makes them the same type, same isolate type. Okay, then there's also the same type of substantial entity, or you can call it the same substantial type. So the definition here is different composed or conditioned phenomena that are produced from their own same direct substantial cause. Okay, so forms which are the same type of substantial cause could be a white clay pot and a blue clay pot that are produced from the same clay, which is their substantial cause. Except the clay isn't really the same clay, because it's two different kinds of clay. Now this all sounds very nice, and the same thing before when we talked about one isolate top with the two cups. But what does it mean to be produced from the same clay? Does that mean that they're the same substantial entity because they're both made of clay, even though one pot is made from clay in Kazakhstan and another pot is made from clay in Italy? Does that make them the same substantial type? No, we're talking about substantial types here.
I thought it meant one huge lump of clay that's then divided up and you make something into clay possibly.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Does it mean one big lump and then you divide it up? Or does it just mean the substance, clay? It's not real clear. Yeah, and when we say the two things are alike, if you have two pink cups, somebody could look at them and the thought would come, yes, they're alike. If you have a pink cup and a purple cup, somebody might look at it and say, yes, they're the same type because they're both cups. And somebody else could look at it and say, no, they're different because one's a pink cup and one's a purple cup. So are they the same type or are they not the same type? Yeah, what do you say?
I think this brings in, for the Sotantrika school, there's something inherently within the object that's coming from its own side that then you're seeing they're the same type. Whereas it's not taking into account how the influence of the observer on what they see. In terms of different people will see likeness or difference according to their preferences, according to their background.
No, but the Sotantrikas are not dumb people. Really, they aren't. And I'm sure they would understand if you have a pink cup and a purple cup, that some people would say, yes, they're the one type. Look, they look exactly the same, and they came in the same set of cups that I got for my wedding present. They're one type of cup. Yeah, made in, whoever in Hungary somewhere. Yeah, they came in the same box.
From IKEA.
IKEA doesn't make cups. IKEA makes cups?
It makes everything.
Really? Oh, I thought it only made dressers and desks and things.
Kitchenware, all kitchenware. Cups, plates,
IKEA makes plates?
Yes.
Oh, I am really old-fashioned, aren't I? I'm out of it, totally out. You can see how much I go shopping,
Us too. They have cups that are exactly the same, different colors. Yes.
Yeah. So are they, yeah. So they're exactly the same, so they're the same type.
Are coffee cups and teacups the same type?
Well, that's another one. Yeah. Are they the same type? One's a coffee cup, one's a teacup. If you're looking one way, yeah, they're both cups. Somebody else would say, no, they're different cups.
Italian, for example.
Yeah. But if especially, if you got a set of cups, even though they were different colors, yeah, sometimes you would look at them, you would say they're the same type. Because when you serve them to your guests, you want all the cups to be alike. But other times you might say they're different types, because you say to somebody, please bring me the purple cup. Yeah. Venerable Semke's favorite color is purple. When we set the table, we put a purple cup by her placemat. Pink is whose favorite color is pink. Oh, you. Okay, yes, definitely. Yeah, pink with little flowers on it and some lace around the edge. It fits you exactly. Yeah. Yes, little hearts, little pink hearts. Yeah. So, somebody else might say, oh, look, they're different. So it's interesting, when you read it, it's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But when you start asking questions, I guess this is what they debate. Yeah. Like if you, I was just thinking, what's the relationship between South Hill and Spokane?
South Hill is one nature with Spokane.
South Hill's one nature with Spokane. But Spokane's not one nature with Spokane, with South Hill. Okay. Are they the same? They're not the same in name or meaning, but if somebody says, I'm going to South Hill, they're going to Spokane. If you live in this area,
Going to Bonners Ferry.
Huh?
Bonners Ferry. They could be going to Bonners Ferry, Idaho, on South Hill.
Oh, is there a South Hill in Bonners Ferry? I went to South Hills High School. That was in California. But see, this is South Hill, and I went to South Hills. So they're different. Okay. Yeah, so it's interesting when you try and look at these things and really delve in and, what do you call it? Yeah.
Really slows down the dinner.
Yeah. Or you see two people in robes, okay? So are they the same? No. What's their relationship? Are they the same type?
Isolate type. Same isolate type.
Are they the same isolate type? Are they the same isolate? Are they the same isolate? No. Are they the same isolate type? Maybe isn't allowed as an answer.
Yes.
What?
Robes might be Catholic and a Tibetan nun. Are they the same type? No.
Oh, I see.
But if you have two nuns, one's in Catholic robes and one is in Buddhist robes, are they the same type?
Who knows?
They're the same type in terms of being nuns. But they're wearing two different robes. Would somebody who looks at them automatically think they're the same type. Some people may, and some people would say, no, they're different. If you see two people wearing Catholic robes, they're the same type.
Maybe it's Halloween, they're not.
If you do that, then somebody's going to throw a fit and call it cultural appropriation. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, think about it. Yeah, but it's interesting. It does make us think, doesn't it? Yeah. So, well, when you look at the carpet, okay, is the carpet here the same substantial type as the carpet on that side of the room?
I would say so.
Are they the same substantial type? Are they the same isolate type?
Yes.
Yeah, probably. Unless you're laying the carpet, and in your mind, the carpet here and the carpet there are two different, pieces of carpet. You're not going to put the carpet there over here.
It'll still be the same isolate. It'll still be the same isolate.
Wouldn't be the same isolate, the same type.
You think it'd be the same isolate type? If you had one square piece of carpet and one triangular piece of carpet, yeah, you're going to put the square carpet over here, the triangular piece over there. Are they the same type?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, somebody.
Because when you look at it, it brings to mind the thought they're alike.
Yeah, but they're carpet. But if you're the person laying the carpet, it's not going to bring the thought to your mind that they're alike, because you wouldn't put the triangular carpet over here.
But if you're the homeowner, they better be the same.
No, they better not, because if he puts the triangular piece of carpet over here, there's going to be some empty space. Are they the same substance?
No.
Are they
Same substance.
same substantial entity? Same substantial type, I should say. Yeah. Now, what would happen? Does that mean that they both come from the same roll of carpet? What happens if you have one roll of carpet and you put it in this side of the room and you run out, and then they order this same type of carpet and it comes in later, and you take another piece from another roll of carpet? Are they the same substantial entity? Same substantial type, I mean.
No.
But they look exactly alike, and they come from the same producer.
We don't know.
And somebody who looks at them, I mean.
Different substantial causes.
Yeah, but two pieces of carpet from the same roll also have different substantial causes. Yeah, because the causes of this carpet are different from the causes of that carpet. Otherwise, the two pieces of carpet would be the same. We're two people, but are the substantial causes of me the same as the substantial causes of you?
Like the question about the two, sir.
Two vases that come from the one lump of clay, do they have the same substantial cause? I think they do. They come from the same batch of clay.
Mm-hmm.
So if carpet comes from the same batch of carpet.
No, my example, one was you laid the carpet on Wednesday and you ran out of that roll and you had to order another roll.
I understand, but the causes that cause that one role they may be the same type
As
of parts, but it's a different, you would call that a different substantial
Okay,
cause.
so what happens if you have the same clay? You took the clay out of the ground on Monday, and then the next day you made exactly the same clay things, but you took that lump of clay out on Tuesday. Are they the same substantial type?
From the same pit?
Yeah. If you took one out on Monday, one. See, this is, yeah, you can say yes, you can also say no, can't you? Seems like. Okay, so having resolved that issue. we should give this to, to Don and Nancy and Chuck to discuss, because then they'd have something meaningful to disagree on. They could argue about something that, I don't know, maybe they'd all agree on. I don't know.
Are some of these definitions dependent upon the perceiver?
It sure looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what the overarching theme is.
Yeah, but they don't tell you when they give the definition. They don't include the circumstance or the perceiver or any of this. Yeah, so they leave it up to us to try and figure out. Yeah, and you can see what an excellent job we're doing of that. Okay, so now let's go here. Well, how did the class go on Sunday? Yeah? Are you able to, should I quiz you on some of the things?
16.
Oh, no. Okay, you got to 16. The subject, one with sound, is not one with sound because of what?
Being a phenomenon that is diverse with sound.
Yeah, thank you. So the subject, one with sound, is one with what?
One with sound.
Okay, so one with sound is one with sound. Okay. The subject, one with sound, is different from sound because of
Being different in name and meaning.
yeah. Okay, what is one with sound is different from sound. But it is different from sound, isn't it? One with sound as its own little group? Isn't it different from sound?
Yes.
Yeah. But I think this is the difference between saying different with sound with the hyphens and just different from sound. Because one with sound is different from sound, because the two are not the same in name and meaning. Okay. But one with sound is different from sound because is one with sound different from sound? What is different from sound?
Everything but sound.
Everything with sound. Everything but sound. Yeah. Yeah. So what about one with sound? It is different from different. It's different. One with sound is different from sound. But this is just saying one with sound is different from sound.
He uses the hyphens in both cases. So
Yeah.
confusing should be in brackets or something.
Yeah. Okay, one with sound is a permanent phenomena because
It's an abstraction.
yeah, it's a conceptual abstraction. How about whatever is one with sound? Okay, whatever is one with sound, is it a permanent phenomena or an impermanent phenomena? Impermanent. Okay. Yeah, because what is one with sound? Sound. Okay. The subject, one with, I want to think of a better one than horns of a rabbit. One with contractors who show up on time. No, I better be polite.
Some of those are existing.
Something like King of America, doesn't exist?
What?
The King of America. King of America.
So, the subject, one with the King of America, is a non-existent because
A phenomenon that doesn't exist.
It's not a phenomenon.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
huh? It's
It's not a phenomenon.
it's not a phenomena. Yeah.
There's no phenomena to be one with a non-existent.
True. Yeah. Can a non-existent be one with another non-existent? No? Okay. The subject, different from King of America, isn't existent because
Because of being a category that includes all existent phenomena.
but the subject, different from King of America, is all existent.
Includes all existent.
Includes all existent, so it would be existent. Okay. Okay, and then it tells you to work with your debate partner with some others. Okay. Okay, now next chapter. You feel okay going on to the next chapter? Yeah. Are you one with people who are okay going on to the next chapter? Are you one with them? No, you're not one with them. Yeah. What is one with people who want to go on to the next chapter?
People who want to go on to the
People who want to go on to the next chapter. So you aren't one with people who want to go on to the next chapter? Okay, so consequences. One of the most natural ways we have to check an idea is by looking at the consequences. Or in Sanskrit, you have prasanga. So this is where you get prasangika. To look at the consequences of that position. If the consequences and implications of an idea are acceptable and consistent with that basic position, we gain evidence in support of the original idea. If the consequences and implications that flow from that idea are inconsistent with that idea, then we have to conclude that the original position must be flawed. Contradiction implies error. Okay, can somebody think of an example in your daily life of a consequence where you figured out you were wrong? Or you had some thought and then you realized, oh, what I'm thinking.
Yesterday when we were going into the prison, they were a little bit lax, like there was nobody at the door in the box, the glass blocks to welcome them. And I could see what looked like the shadow of the reflection of someone behind us as the checker in. I mean, it was so shadowy, you couldn't tell, is there anybody in there? It appeared like a reflection of something behind us. But I turned around and there was nothing behind us but a window. So that was the mistake, is there really was a person in there, they just weren't coming to the window.
Yeah.
That was a contradiction.
Yeah. So we may have many beliefs, when we're doing, I had a thought. I went. But, things that we think in whatever job we do, and then it doesn't turn out that way. Yeah.
Something database.
What?
There's many examples in the database, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's a good idea, a good one. That you have the idea that the people who transferred the data into the new database produced an exact replica of the database you had, because that was what their contract said that they would do.
That's what we assumed they would do.
That's what we assumed. It didn't say in the contract. Oh, they're very clever. We'll transfer your database, but we're not guaranteeing that it comes out the same as your previous one. Okay, but that's a good idea. You assume, and then there's evidence of the very opposite. Yeah. So that kind of thing happens to us a lot, doesn't it? We have certain assumptions, certain ideas. You come to the Abbey for a retreat and you assume you're going to leave with bliss radiating out of your ears, and instead you get mosquito bites.
Here we're talking about consequences of holding an idea, right? I thought of a very painful example. So I think for a while in Singapore, and I don't know if it's still the case, the assumption was that people who are university graduates will produce smarter children. And then so you have certain programs like that to encourage dating within that circle and so on. And then what I recall my parents telling me was there was a very high-profile report about a couple that were both PhDs and their child was differently abled. And that couple came forward to say, there's no logical, it is not logical. Yeah. We have to take apart such programs. So, yeah.
But many people think that, also in this country.
Yeah, so many public policy programs are based on this kind of assumption, and then you got to play out the consequences. And sometimes it's like 10 years later that you review the policy and realize, we made some painful wrong assumptions.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, if people want to get pregnant and they go to the sperm bank, they have a whole description, they want the sperm from somebody with this kind of educational degree in this kind of field who looks like this and this and this and this. And you can specify everything. Yeah. And then you get pregnant with that kind of sperm, and then the kid looks entirely different, thinks entirely different than you thought. Yeah. Because you can have two brown-haired parents and have a red-haired kid, can't you? Yeah. Okay. It is not likely that looking into the consequences of something develops by nature alone, though we do seem to have a natural tendency to look for patterns and therefore for breaks in patterns. Probably looking for consequences develops as a function of learning language. I wonder if it's the function of just being a kid, because the first thing you learn is to say, it's not fair. So it's not fair implies contradiction, doesn't it? And we learn that very early on as kids, in this country anyway. Probably looking for consequences develops as a function of learning language. However it comes to be, practically everyone over a certain age just automatically does it, whether they have training in reasoning or not. So and some people are more picky than others. So as soon as you say anything, they're automatically looking for something that doesn't fit into what you said. Yeah? Yeah, I know none of you are like that. But there are some people. Yeah. Huh? With whatever you say, the person's instantly trying to think of, what's going to disprove that. And there's certain people, like depending upon which. Depending upon which political party you belong to, yeah, then if whatever a certain person says, you will automatically think it's good or automatically think it's bad. Yeah. So for those of us with basic language skills, looking at consequences seems to come quite easily, also known as picking faults. So if you're really good at picking faults, you're a true prasangika. Okay. For those, in this system of Buddhist reasoning and debate, looking at consequences is the most important tool in the box. I believe that reliance on consequences is part of what Professor Cargyle was referring to when he compared Buddhist reasoning and debate to learning to climb a mountain on your own rather than building a railroad to carry you up the mountain. Huh?
I heard that earlier in the book.
Yeah? Okay, we'll skip that part. Consequences draw out the implication of ideas, and if that idea is not sensible, they can very effectively help a person overcome a mistaken notion in a very natural way. We simply cannot hold contradictory ideas in mind at the same time. You want to make a bet? You can see many contradictory people holding many contradictory notions in their mind at the same time, but they don't see the contradiction between the two notions. Okay? But if we don't see the contradiction, we can do it. Okay, the use of consequences to defeat wrong ideas fits perfectly with the goal of clarifying consciousness to allow liberation to unfold. Even so, the use of consequences is only as good as the one doing the thinking. There you go with your point. Yeah. Because we are limited by the measure of our understandings. For instance, how much serious weight can the ordinary person bring to bear on the issue of whether or not Pluto is a proper planet in regard to whether or not there will be a big crunch, or in regard to whether or not there will be a big crunch that collapses all matter of the universe into a single point? We're completely unable to make judgments on either of those things, but we do it anyway. How many of you think Pluto is a real planet? I learned that in 3rd grade. Yeah, I remain loyal to my 3rd grade teacher.
It's a minor planet.
Yeah. But then there's these people who came along and say it's not a planet, it's a what?
It's a dwarf planet.
A dwarf planet?
Well, it's still a planet.
Is a dwarf planet a planet?
Dwarf planet without being a planet. Come on, it's a planet.
A dwarf human being is still a
Human being. So if it's a dwarf.
What's another object in the Kuiper belt? So just leave it alone.
Andy, what did you say it was?
It's a minor planet, yeah.
It's a what?
It's termed as a minor planet.
It's a minor planet. But it's still a planet. I mean, my third grade teacher would not lie. She has no reason to lie. Yeah. And maybe she's a Buddha, you know. Mrs. What was her name? Mrs. Grohl. Something like that. Yeah. Okay. Some people have sophisticated understandings of these issues and have settled their conclusions, but not many of us. But even the people who have settled conclusions aren't necessarily right. Yeah, take for example, what we're told is a healthy diet. It changes all the time. Yeah? When I was little, butter was good for you. Then it became bad for you. And margarine was good for you. Now margarine's bad for you and butter's good for you. Yeah? So I learned about butter in, I don't know, maybe 5th grade. That was wrong. But then it became right again. Okay. By the same token, how useful would a theoretical physicist be to your grandmother when she was trying to remember where she left her crochet basket? Are you putting down my grandma?
Yes.
Yeah. Why don't you say when your grandfather forgot where he put his pipe? Yeah. Or his crochet basket. For all of us, we know what we know, and that much we can use. As always, I encourage you to be observant and to build up your own internal database. Okay, of where we keep crochet baskets around this place. Venerable Yeshe would know.
They moved it.
Yeah. The consequence may be used to check both types of basic statements, statements of qualities and statements of privation. For instance, if someone makes a simple statement of a quality like, Lassie is a dog. Okay, everybody knows Lassie is a dog. Yeah, you know? Yeah, do you know that Lassie's a dog? Did you know that Lassie's a dog? Really? Wow, everybody here knew that Lassie was a dog.
But if you grew up in India, you'd know mango lassi. So you would know lassi is a dog.
So maybe a minor planet isn't a planet because Mango Lassie isn't Lassie, that's the dog. Yeah. Yeah, it's the same, but not in name, but not in meaning. Okay, so if somebody says Lassie is a dog, we can look at the consequences of this position and check to see whether or not it is accurate. For instance, we may reason that if Lassie is a dog, you can say then Lassie is a mammal. Lassie is not a human being. Lassie is either a male dog or a female dog. And Lassie is intelligent.
And then you go to Ireland and you got lads and lassies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So then is Lassie a mammal? Is Lassie a human being? Lassie is intelligent. Okay, and on and on. Really, There are countless consequences and implications of every position, but just a few will normally indicate whether or not the assertion is sensible. In checking the implications of a statement of equality, the procedure is that you look to see what the predicate of the statement implies about the subject. Okay? For instance, you can see that if indeed Lassie is a dog, then she would have to have the qualities of a dog. Was Lassie a she or a he?
She.
It was a she. Oh, I couldn't remember. Okay.
Lads and lassies.
But the character Lassie on television was a female dog, but she was played by a male dog. Yeah.
Really? The Lassie on television was played by a male dog?
They were all from the same descended from the same parent.
Well, wait a minute. Tell us the whole story. This is important. It's shaking my faith. So the Lassie, what they had? They're from the same.
Lassie was portrayed as a female dog, but was actually a male dog.
Why did they do that?
That's the writers. I don't know. And all of there was more than one Lassie. There was actually like 7 dogs, and they were all descended from the same dog, and they were all male.
And they were all male. Oh my!
American history. Yeah.
Don't make
Mike. Oh, this is dramatically unfair. Lassie is going to sue. Yeah.
I thought she was the only female super dog in the world, and now that's been totally blown out of proportion.
Yeah. Oh. Now, the next thing you're going to do when we talk about Leave It to Beaver is you're going to tell us that Beaver was a girl. Yeah. You remember Leave It to Beaver?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, we left it to Beaver. Okay. Okay, in checking the implications of a statement of equality, okay, for instance, you can see that if indeed Lassie is a dog, then she would have to have the qualities of a dog. She would be a mammal, vertebrate, and so on. She would not be human. And she could be either a male dog or a female dog. Look at that sentence. She could be either a male dog or a female dog. That doesn't make sense. And so on.
That's what we were just told us that she was a male dog.
Yeah. Oh, what's happening to this world? Okay. If all of these predicates fit the subject at hand, then it looks as if the statements will stand. In this system of debate, it is much more typical that consequences are used to question a statement of pervasion rather than a statement of qualities, in order to verify it or refute it. We use this sort of reasoning all the time. That is, we check up on an idea by applying it to cases, and if it appears that the idea is wrong, we give a counterexample to the person. Okay? Like we just did when we read, she should be either a male dog or a female dog. Yeah, if it's whoever is Lassie should be either, how would we word it?
The dog.
Whoever is a female Lassie should be either a male Lassie or a female. I don't know, but that's what we did. Okay, we checked out to see if it was accurate. Okay, he's going to start talking about spiders soon. Okay. So whether a person's statement of pervasion is right or wrong, the template for flinging a consequence is as follows. Suppose somebody says, every arachnid is a spider. Okay, every arachnid is a spider. However, you understand that it is not accurate because arachnids also include, among others, scorpions and our favorite, ticks, which are not spiders. Don't you dare call a tick a spider. We would normally just say something in response like, no, scorpions and ticks are arachnids too. Okay, that usually takes care of it. Not always. They may doubt you, but they can look it up. In this system of debate, the formal statement of an unwanted consequence lays out the full import of the response. So here's what you would say. Then it would follow that the subject, a scorpion, is a spider because of being an arachnid. Somebody might say, yep. Okay. In both normal speech, because if you don't know what an arachnid is, yeah, or you might think that a scorpion is a spider. They look a little bit the same. Yeah. In both normal speech and in the formal statement of a consequence, we are doing the same things. That is, in order to check the idea, you need to come up with examples of things that have the quality of the antecedent of the pervasion. So the first part. So if you're saying whatever is, or every arachnid is a spider, or whatever is an arachnid is a spider, yeah, the antecedent is referring to arachnid, the first noun that you're hearing. Okay. Okay, you have the quality of the antecedent of the pervasion, the first part, every arachnid, which is the part that ends up being in the third position of the consequence. Okay, because the consequence is, then it would follow that the subject, a scorpion, is a spider because of being an arachnid. Okay, so in the statement, it's the first position. In the consequence, it's the last, yeah, because it's the reason. And then you look to see how the things that quality, and then you look to see how the things with that quality compare to the phenomena spoken of in the second part of the pervasion. In this case, spiders. Okay, so to put this in some kind of English we can understand. Did you understand that? Yeah, I think he makes it quite complicated here. Okay, so what you're doing is you're taking, if you hear every arachnid is a spider, so you check, you think of an example of an arachnid, and like a scorpion, and then you switch the places. So you know, a scorpion is a spider because of being an arachnid. So the arachnid in the simple statement was the first thing. Every arachnid is a spider. In the consequence, it goes to the position of being the reason. Okay, and spider goes to the position of being the predicate. And then you think of an example that's the subject of your consequence. In this case, a scorpion. Okay, so in the statement that somebody's trying to make a statement of privation, it's wrong here, but they're doing it by every arachnid is a spider, or whatever is an arachnid is a spider. Okay, and so if you want to test that, then you inverse, arachnid and spider, and you think of an example, Yeah, but then you say, then a scorpion is a spider because of being an arachnid.
But
And then you see that not all arachnids are spiders.
And you also go to to check and make sure that's true, that there are 3 orders of arachnids. Acari, scorpions, and opilions represent some of the most well-known non-spider arachnids. So scorpions are arachnids, but they're not spiders.
Right. Yeah, that's what it's saying. Okay. Yeah, so don't insult a scorpion by saying it's a spider. Yeah, those measly spiders. Okay. If the statement of privation is accurate, then every example you come up with will just give further evidence to support it. So every arachnid is a spider, then you think of one arachnid after another, and you think if it's a spider, and you realize, no, it's not. And then, or you do the thing of, then it would follow that the subject of scorpion is a spider because of being an arachnid, and then you change out scorpion for all sorts of other different things. Okay? What? A daddy long leg isn't a spider?
No, look at its body. It's just one round ball.
It's the same as what? It's not he is but not a spider.
And that other category, 3 categories that are non-spiders: scorpion, acaris, and opilions or something.
Baloney?
There are three divisions of arachnids that are non-spiders, and the harvestmen or the daddy longlings fit in one of those.
Oh, I see, okay. So what do you have to do to be a spider?
You gotta have spiders.
Yeah?
Auditions, you gotta.
What'd you say?
Not something auditions.
How many legs do you have to be a spider?
8.
8? Oh, I'm going to start counting. How many legs do ticks have?
6 or 8, depending on the stage.
Okay, but it's not a spider. So just having 8 legs doesn't naturally make you a spider.
If you lose one, you're still a spider.
Yeah, but your basis of, when does it not become a spider? How many legs do you have to lose to stop being a spider?
When you stop.
Okay, I'm still on Lassie. Okay. Yeah, let us know what you come up with, Venerable Samgay. If the statement of privation is accurate, then every example you come up with will just give further evidence to support it. However, if the statement of privation is not accurate, perhaps you can come up with a counterexample, something that has the quality of the universal, an arachnid. I don't know. Yeah, they're calling arachnid the universal because it's the largest, it has the biggest range. Something that is an arachnid but does not have the quality of being a spider. In that case, the person's statement of privation is not accurate. Since all spiders are arachnids, but not all arachnids are spiders, here you can give the counterexample of a tick or a scorpion. This is always the pattern to follow. Yeah, but then if you say something like that, then somebody's going to do like I just did. And I said, what are the qualities of a spider? What makes you a spider such that a scorpion is not a spider? Or a tick is not a spider? When you respond simply, no, scorpions and ticks are arachnids too, that means no, scorpions and ticks are arachnids, but they are not spiders. The import is the same. However, it is helpful to lay out the entire consequence in order to make clear that what you are saying in response to the statement of pervasion, right or wrong. The formal consequence also helps the defender who is putting forth the statement of pervasion by giving a compelling proof that something is wrong with the original statement or by giving clear targets to shoot at. The next chapter spells out the defender's answers to the challenger's argument. Okay, so what he's saying here is, somebody says every arachnid is a spider, and in ordinary language we would say, no, spiders and scorpions and ticks are arachnids too. Okay, and that would serve as a consequence to show the guy that he doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, but what he's saying here is that it's better to spell it out completely, and to show the error by saying then it would follow that the subject, a scorpion, is a spider because of being an arachnid. That saying that full thing would make it much, much clearer to the other person that his thought that all arachnids are spiders is incorrect. Okay? When I first read this, I was thinking, he could have said this so much simpler. Yeah? Did anybody else have that feeling?
Yes.
Yeah?
The last 2 years.
If he had lived to completion this, he might have edited it.
Okay, so we'll stop here for tonight because he's going to give another example. Okay. Oh, and meanwhile, we have to deal with our disillusionment that Lassie was played by a male dog.
That is
You
Really?
have to look at why that's so heartbreaking.
Oh, no! We have to look at why they lied to us. We were little innocent kids, and these grown-ups lied to us. And how are we supposed to develop trust in adults when they lie?
Maybe they're trying to get you that.
You see? No wonder we protested the Vietnam War. We didn't trust authority because they told us Lassie was a girl.
Because they told us Lassie was a girl alive, we protested the Vietnam War.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it follows. Yeah, because we stopped trusting authority. Because authority lied to us.
What about Champion the Wonder Horse? I used to see that.
Who?
Champion the Wonder Horse, American series. No one knows.
No, Champion the Wonder Horse. No.
We only have one channel. We don't know that one.
It's a dwarf planet and a minor planet. We're both right.
Oh, okay.
It was Rin Tin Tin.
Do you want to hear the definition of spider?
Yes.
An eight-legged predatory arachnid. What?
Predatory.
A predatory arachnid with an unsegmented body consisting of a fused head and thorax and a rounded abdomen. Spiders have fangs which inject poison into their prey, and most kinds spin webs in which to capture insects.
And what makes a daddy long legs not a spider?
They eat fruit.
Their bodies are different.
Yeah, they are. They don't have
They're not.
a fused head and a thorax. They're just a round ball. They
Oh.
also eat fruit and such.
They also eat what?
They eat vegetarian.
Are they vegetarian?
I don't know. They might be scavengers, but they're not. I don't think they're predators.
They are poisonous to small insects.
They're daddy long legs are poisonous?
They can't bite you. The mouth's too small to bite a human.
But they can kill small insects.
Well,
What?
Here it says the daddy long legs, which is a number of them, is a family of anamorph spiders.
Mm.
The common name daddy long legs is the common name for several species.
They're nominal spiders.
Yeah, there's a terminological division.
I had one example of an everyday thing and consequence.
Uh-huh.
Just what we think, our theories about what brings happiness. You think, oh, if I get wealthy, famous, and have a nice partner, I'll be happy. But then it would follow that all these people that have this are happy, and that's not necessarily true.
True, right. Yeah. So your original statement was whoever has wealth, fame, and a good family is happy. Yeah. Then
Donnie would be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, then Donnie would, yeah.
Well, it
So
would
then
follow.
Donnie would be a happy person because he has wealth, fame, and. Oh, yeah. He doesn't have wealth. He actually lost a whole lot, didn't he?
It's got more than I have.
you can take the soft line.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's a very, very good, you know? Yeah, just so many different assumptions we have in our life of things that we were taught that we really don't stop and think about, is this true or not? But when we do, then we find out that there's no pervasion.
Another piece of cake will make me feel good.
That one's true.